I was born in a huge family, cousins from almost every country, so it would be hard for me to be an introvert. I was also the most misbehaved girl in our house. I did so many stupid things while growing up, and I never listened to my parents or anybody. One time I remember I was in my hometown with my family. I run into the farms every time I go there. This time was no different. Nightfall came and I did the same. My parents were about to scold me when I came back, but when they saw that worried and scared look on my face, they took me inside. I finally felt relieved when I entered the house. I was only 7, so I didn't know anyone well there. So I met up with this boy named Matthew. I loved spending time with Matthew. He was like a younger brother to me. When I told my grandma about him, she was shocked, and she asked me where he lived. I told her that he lived at the other side of the farm. We had this mosque on our side, and whenever he heard the call of prayer, he started to collapse and close his ears shut, which always made me wonder why he was like that. However, this night was the first time I'd ever met him. My summer vacation was ending, so we'd only planned to stay about a week. When I told him that I was leaving, he just got up and yelled at me. "Are you crazy? How can you leave me?" He just shouted at me, which made me worry about him. And then I asked what was wrong. He didn't calm down. He took a rock and he threw it at the window of an abandoned house. Then we both just saw a dark figure passing by. Mischievous me had the idea of going inside to check it out. And Matthew agreed because we both like an adventure. I actually thought it might calm him down a little. So we opened that huge, old gate and went inside. And let me tell you, it was a different atmosphere inside. I could feel something, like a weight. It was something really strange. I looked at Matthew and he seemed normal. I tried to ignore that feeling as we were standing in the entrance. We walked inside. I can remember everything like it was yesterday. Matthew had his hands in his pockets and he was whistling. He was perfectly fine. On the other hand, me, my fists were clenched and I was trying not to cry because I felt so weird. I took deep breaths and closed my eyes. After a few moments, I opened my eyes back up, and Matthew wasn't near me anymore. And at that moment, a figure came running at me aggressively. I fell on the ground and screamed. I screamed as loud and as hard as I could until everything went black. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up in my bedroom. Nobody talked to me that entire day. And at the end of the week, we left. The next year, we returned to the farm, and I didn't see Matthew anywhere. But for 5 years, I kept thinking about him. I thought I would never see him again. But on that 5th year, he was there with his bright smile. And luckily, he remembered me. I was so happy to see him again. One night, we were both sitting in front of my house, and I asked him, "Do you remember that day when we went into that house near the farm?" And he took a sip of his soda and said, "Yes, how could I ever forget that?" I asked him what had happened to me, with tears in my eyes. He replied, "You just screamed and fainted." After a long pause, he broke the silence between us and said, "It was as if you had seen something." Visibly upset, I looked at him and stammered, How do you know that?" And he said, "You saw the ghost of that house, which is also after me, and it beats me up every time I hear the call of prayer." And a tear ran down my face because I couldn't believe what he'd just said. After that, our families became a lot closer, and his cousin's brother and my cousin's sister even got married because they had fallen in love.